Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. I am Dr. Erika, and you are joining us on Dr. Erika by Design. Today on our show, I am joined by Katharina Kugler. Kat is an ex-management consultant turned entrepreneur with a combined time of more than 8 years experience in strategy consulting and co-creating new ventures. She is a podcaster, fellow podcast host. I love having those on my show. An independent strategy consultant and advisor, and the founder of humanplus. Her goal is to drive a more purposeful, value-oriented way of business building and normalize the topics of spirituality and personal growth in the business world. Kat, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful intro.
Yeah,
I don't do such beautiful intros for my guests. It's amazing.
Well, when I have amazing guests, it's easy to talk about all the amazing things that they're doing. So you make my job easy.
Thank you.
No problem.
Very happy to be here and be on the other side. As you said, I'm also a podcaster. So,
right. So you know how hard it is. Yeah, love it. Yeah. So now, Kat, when I was introducing you, we were talking about your 8 years in corporate, which is not where you are now. And I love having people that have done these types of career transitions. People often think it's sort of this straight line that happens, but I imagine it wasn't sort of a direct line that got you to where you are. So kind of walk us through how you ended up in corporate and what made you take the leap.
Yes. So actually it was only 5 years in the corporate world and 8 years in total. So I've been out of the corporate world now. This is my 3rd year as an entrepreneur. And even in those years, like lots of change has happened. So no, it's never been a straight line. And it's not a straight line now. And I think that's actually what causes a lot of problems for people, because they think that life and career needs to be a straight line, but it's not. So yeah, do you want me to start like right at the beginning?
Wherever you feel comfortable in starting, whether it was that pivotal moment where you realized it was time to make a change, let's start there.
Okay, so yes, originally I'm from Germany, and I studied in London, and that's where I also started working. So I started as a management consultant, and when you come from university, you don't know who you are. You don't know what you want.
Yeah, you think you do.
Exactly. You think you do, and everyone else makes you believe that you should have it all figured out.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you don't know what you're doing. And I happened to be in this because I studied business and I studied in London. So I happened to be in this environment where a lot of people chose the path of management consulting. And I thought, because management consulting is you work on a variety of projects and clients. So I thought this is a good idea, because I, at that point, knew that I hadn't figured this whole thing out. And that kind of seemed like a safe place to start with, because you don't have to commit straight away. And I started in management consulting. I somehow ended up in financial services industry. Don't ask me how. Like a lot of when I reflect on it, I'm always thinking, like, how exactly did I end up in financial services? I don't know. I think this is just where they placed me, and then all of a sudden I was a financial services consultant. And I did really learn a lot there. I enjoyed my time. I enjoyed the friendships and the relationships that were made. And, it's an incredible school. You do learn a lot in a very short period of time. But as I said, I already knew that this will probably not be my end goal. And at the same time, which is, I think this is the first pivotal moment in my life, was that I started meditation at the same time that I started working in consulting. And it's interesting because no one in my family or in my background at all is religious or spiritual or anything like that. Now I know also meditation has nothing to do with religion at all. But I didn't know what it was. And yet I felt this very strong urge to meditate.
What was it, just out of the blue, or like what?
Out of the blue, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, of course, there was somebody who said, "Oh, I'm doing this meditation course. Are you interested in this sort of thing?" So there's definitely moments, where you then being redirected in a certain direction, and you take the opportunity and you do it. But it wasn't something that I had been thinking about. It just came up, and I really felt this very strong intuition that is something that I should be doing. And I think this is a pivotal moment for me, because what that did to me is I started kind of waking up a little bit, and like my consciousness was starting to open up, and to I was seeing different things, and I was perceiving the world a little bit different. So I was kind of walking through that corporate experience, even though I was fully in it, even though I was fully in the hamster wheel, as I always say, I was kind of able to extract myself from it as well, and to see a little bit what was going on. And what was going on from my point of view was that a lot of people were just running unconsciously, doing their job, getting up the next day, doing the same thing again. Usually not very happy people, a lot of ego, a lot of just toxic environment in a way, not all of it, but overall, it's not a good environment to be fully yourself. A lot of broken relationships at work, at home, all of these things. And I witnessed that from the outside, and surely I made some interesting experiences as well, when like with my own managers, etc. But I just thought this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not how we should live our lives. Then there must be a different way. Again, here, I didn't know what was that different way. I just knew that this cannot be it. And then what happened, basically, I quit overnight. There was one situation where a manager came up to me, and I knew already I was playing with the thought of quitting, but I didn't really have this mapped out. And when you are in the machine, it's quite hard to say I'm going to quit in 3 months, because then you start thinking, oh my God, I will not have a regular income. You develop all of these fears. So it was kind of in the back of my mind. I knew I wanted to quit, but I didn't set a timeline or a plan or anything. And there's this manager coming up to me, and he was basically, it was on a really demanding project, and came up to me and said something along the lines of, you need to work harder, and your team also needs to work harder. I had a few people at that point working for me, and I thought, have you looked into people's eyes? Have you looked into people's faces? Like, they have no life in their face anymore. No one is working harder at all. This is crazy. And I was so upset about this that I called a friend of mine, and I was complaining about all of these things that were going wrong. And I thought, this is so disrespectful, the way they treat people. And that person said to me, I don't think they intended to, ignite that feeling, but they just said, what are you still doing there? And I think in that moment, this is the first time where I actually just thought about that. What am I still doing there? And then I said, this is the best question that I've been asked in a long time. I'm going to call you back. I need to do something. And I handed in my resignation in that moment.
That day after
that conversation, after this person asked me, what are you still doing there? And, a lot of people ask you these questions, and you think about them, but then you don't really think about them. But I think what happened in that moment, I was just really thinking, what am I doing here? And it felt like a momentum, you either do it now or you get sucked back into this world.
But in that story, you know what I love? I think the fact that you were meditating, and the fact that you said, you were starting to build up this awareness, that it probably was able to sink in differently than if you hadn't been, in that meditative state.
Absolutely. I really do credit all of these braveries that sometimes people say, you're so brave doing this. I credit this to my meditation practice. I would not have been able to have the mental strength to stand up for myself and do what was right to my heart, and not what was right rationally.
Yeah.
So what you said earlier, people always think it goes that straight line. Not at all. And it doesn't happen overnight too. These mindset shifts, you need to give it some time to develop. I mean, mind you, I was in that environment for 5 years until I made it out, so it's not that I meditated and next day I jumped out of it.
It takes some time. I was in that environment for 15 years. So
wow. How did you get out?
It took a while. For me, it was more of my body told me it was time to get out, because I started having physical, like actual manifestations of just my body giving up, and then also just the mental health perspective of it just kind of got me to the point of knowing I needed to make a change. But still kind of a little bit of fear there, right? Fear of, to your point, what am I going to do? Fear of what people are going to say. So for me, my husband and I, we did make a plan of like how I was going to slowly exit out. And it's so funny that you had somebody ask you, like, what are you still doing there? I would come home from work trips and my husband would say, did you quit yet? Like every time, did you quit? Did you quit yet? So eventually last year, during the middle of the pandemic, like at the height of it, very similar to you, I just had a moment where I was like, no, this is it. So one random Wednesday morning, I just called my boss and was like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. It was just, if being grounded, because I used to travel a lot. So being grounded during the pandemic, if I was still miserable, not traveling for this job, there was no hope for it. So why, prolong the inevitable? And you need to go ahead and make that transition. So that's how I ended up leaving.
I love it.
Yes.
Amazing.
And go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say, like, I love hearing this from other people as well. And I just want to reiterate that point also for the listener, because I really do think it's important to understand that it's a process.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. You don't wake up having full clarity and having the guts to do it as well.
Yeah.
But when the moment comes, you jump on it.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, because now you bring up a different thought in my head. When I left, and just to your point of, people think that you leave and the next day your business is exactly what it's supposed to be, right? I had an idea, but the clarity was not there, and it's still not there, right? I'm still growing and revising my business. Is that something that you experienced as well?
I'm in the middle of all of this, and I've really come to learn to appreciate the process of creation, which is what that is, right? I don't know where people, including myself, get the idea from that you jump out of the environment and the next day you have a thriving business. I don't know where people get the idea from that is what it's supposed to be, because this is couldn't be further from the truth.
Right.
I mean, I'm so much in the middle of figuring this whole thing out, and I think it's a lot of fun, also the negative sides. I mean, what people will perceive as negative, I perceive it as a learning, but
it takes a little bit of courage, and I think sometimes the optics of what we see on social media sort of may drive that idea of, oh my gosh, they are millionaires in 2 days, when they really don't know the true story of how long they have been building and grinding and changing things behind the scene. So.
Yeah, and then also how successfully they were in building their business, and I don't mean in terms of monetary terms, but also not neglecting your life. I think there's something like balanced success. So I'm in the prime time of my life, I would say. I don't want to spend the next, or the years that I've already passed building my business now. I don't want to spend it grinding and feeling unhappy and not where I'm supposed to be, and all of that, just to then have some monetary reward. I think this is really also not the purpose of it, because then you run unconsciously in that corporate hamster wheel. You just do the exact same thing, just as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And actually, this is exactly what happened to me in my first venture, because now I've been out of this whole thing for about 3 years. This is my third year, and I'm already on my second venture, because I basically went from one trap, which is the corporate trap, into another trap, which was the entrepreneurship trap. So I can tell this is a real thing, you know. You
Right.
can.
How do that's a great point, and I'm glad to hear you say, like, in your first year that happened to you, because I feel like I just hit a year in April, and I feel like that was my first year. I've been in this corporate hamster wheel, but in my own business. How did you get off that hamster wheel? Like, or what can you suggest to people to keep them from even getting on that hamster wheel in the first place?
Yeah, so I think I need to complete the story first, for like what happened after the corporate world, because
Okay.
then it will get to the point to getting out of the hamster wheel.
Okay.
So essentially, what happened is when I then left Deloitte, I had no clue at all. So, but the only thing that I thought would be the answer to my to all of my problems would be entrepreneurship, right? And I then had this also came from my previous network. I really didn't think much of it. I got an opportunity to join a startup in Singapore. And
Just
yeah.
how? That's so random.
It is very random, but it's from my student network in Vienna, where I first studied before I went to London. And I posted in a group saying something like, hey, I've just quit my job, anyone is doing anything fun, sort of thing. And, and then somebody messaged from that network and said, yeah, actually we're building a new startup in Singapore, why don't you come along? And basically what I did is, and this is actually really cool. I love that I did that. I like the year that I quit Deloitte, I booked a flight to Australia because I wanted to finally go on a 6 weeks trip to Australia. Okay,
Wow.
so this was in January and I quit in October. So the trip was already in the diary for like a long time. And the trip was in December started in December, and it was going from London to Singapore to Sydney. And then on the way back from Sydney to Singapore and to London, back to London. And when all of a sudden, when this Singapore opportunity popped up, I was like, this is perfect. I'm just not going to return to
Right.
London. So, so I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to leave London. I quit my job. My parents, they were they couldn't believe it. And you need to come to London. You need to help me pack up. We need to ship my stuff to Singapore. Meanwhile, I'm going to go to Australia. And when I come back, I'm only taking half of the flight. And my parents were like, oh my God, what have we done? What have we raised?
Right.
No, joking. They were very supportive, but of course they were a little bit baffled by that. And so that's what I did. I had a backpack, went on my trip, really enjoyed myself, loved the country, everything. And on the way back, I just got off in Singapore. And as you can tell, this was not a very well thought through decision because very impulsive. But I thought, this must be the answer then. If it's not the corporate world, it must be entrepreneurship. And I ended up becoming a venture partner in the holding company of the startup that we were building as well. So I was working on a few projects simultaneously, but they were all in an area, long story short, that were completely not in alignment with my purpose. And that had absolutely no meaning to me whatsoever. And I mean, at this point, I had done a lot of deep work already through my meditations. I've really gotten into the world of personal growth. You do a lot of, who am I? What's actually my motivations? A lot of limiting beliefs at that point popped up. So bottom line, I've done a lot of deep work at this point. I had an idea what my purpose is. I did think that it is important, but somehow I thought, okay, but purpose is nothing that you do professionally. Purpose is what you do like personally. I had these massive limiting beliefs. So I started this company. It was an e-commerce company, a natural skincare brand with my co-founder and a few other people. And it worked in the beginning, but it didn't work for me. And I said that fairly quickly. I said, listen, guys, I cannot do this like a long time, because I don't associate with what we are building. And neither do I associate with the Singapore culture. I really didn't feel home there at all. I found it very difficult to make any friends there, because Singapore is a very transactional place. People are like after making quick money and business, and I'm a connector, I like to connect with people and to build relationships. So I thought I need to get out of this. But at this point, I really did have these limiting beliefs that you can't do anything purposeful in your business. I mean, which is just, this could not be further from the truth.
Right.
But then, yeah, I ended up running in that hamster wheel for another year. So that didn't end well at all, because at the end of the day, I had to get out of the business, and my co-founder didn't understand this at all. Like he just didn't get it, because he had a fundamentally different mindset to me, and maybe it was aligned with his purpose, but it wasn't aligned with my purpose. And essentially what happened is I was meant to come back last year in July to Europe, and then the pandemic hit, and the whole thing accelerated really quickly, and the whole thing also escalated very quickly between me and my co-founder. And I took the last flight out of Singapore before the pandemic happened. So on the 1st of March, I landed in Germany, and at this point, the pandemic had not hit Europe to the point that it hit Asia. So you could see something is coming, but no one was thinking of borders closing or so.
Right.
And I thought I'd just stay at my parents' place for a few weeks to recover from the whole thing, work out what went wrong and how it went so wrong. And, a lot of money also was lost in the process. So, I really needed my family to be around and reevaluate the whole thing. Because I was doing so many jumps, from the corporate world to the startup, crashes within 1 year. It's tough on your soul.
Right.
And essentially, I was forced to do even deeper work at this point, because I wasn't able to go back to London, which was my plan. I thought I'm just going to get back my feet back on the ground, go back to London, work things out there. I wasn't able to physically fly to London. All the opportunities that I had in London were off the radar because of coronavirus. And I was stuck at my parents' couch for 3 months. So I was really forced to reevaluate again. So much about the straight line, right?
Right, exactly.
No straight line here.
Winding roads. That's what it is, winding roads.
Just want to say this in the process.
Gotcha.
All sounds very negative, but it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me, because I was just forced to this time do things differently and look all of these beliefs into the eyes, and sometimes I'm thinking, I know a lot of entrepreneurs who have gone through that exact learning, but it takes them a long time to figure out that, purpose is actually something important, and that your life doesn't have to be like painful, and the way you create doesn't have to be painful. This is all a false narrative that we tell ourselves, that work has to be, you need to suffer before you can succeed. It's not true. This happens when you act not in alignment with who you truly are. And I'm the perfect example for that. It was very tough because I wasn't acting in alignment with who I am at that point. So biggest lesson, this was the biggest lesson. And because I just saw, this is not working. Like if you are not authentic to yourself, like it's not happening.
Right.
It's not happening in the corporate world. It's not happening in entrepreneurship. So I started, it's interesting actually how I started my company the other day, my company humanplus. The other day I was thinking, how did this take such a momentum? Because I didn't plan it like this. I just needed to find an outlet for all the work that I had been developing and what I knew was my purpose, and start creating from the heart. So I started a podcast. I started my company humanplus, and I thought this is just going to be like a side thing until I don't know what, it just really felt like I need to start creating from the right place.
Huh.
Now I realized there's no side thing. This is the thing, this is what I need to do. And interesting enough, it also, every time I speak about it, about my new stuff, because this comes from the heart, and that is truly who I am. This is why people connect with it. Every time I try to go back into consulting, which is I see as a way to pay the bills. You can do some freelance consulting, pays the bills while you work on your own thing. I get way less traction on anything that I try to attempt to do with freelance consulting, which fascinates me because I have a few years of experience now. You would think it would be easy for me to get a freelance client. It's actually really hard. And the reason why that is because my heart is not with it. That's the vibration that I'm sending.
You are speaking to my soul right now. Because I completely feel that. A lot of what I do in consulting comes very easy to me, but there's still a piece of me that there's some other passions that I think are pulling me in a different direction. So I love that you are saying that, because I think it's so true. And I think it's sometimes missed in the space of entrepreneurship because we're looking for that low hanging fruit of what can I do easily to make the check to pay the bills. So I love that you're saying that. Oh my gosh.
The low hanging fruit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is the other day what somebody said to me, like, what's your low hanging fruit? And I was like, yeah, I could do some consulting again if I'm trying actually, I'm trying, but I work with different companies now, so it doesn't feel heavy on me. But I've only changed my approach recently because I realized if I go back into this old environment, which is what I was trying to do, because I thought it is a low-hanging fruit, while I'm building the actual thing, I'm stepping out of my integrity.
Right.
And that is why it's not working. I'm stepping out of me being me, because I cannot be, I can be who I am in that environment, but it's simply not the right place to be for me. And so that is why it's not working out. And every time I speak with somebody about a freelance gig, we end up speaking about humanplus. And so now I realize, oh, okay, again, a limiting belief. Maybe I don't need that freelance anyway. Maybe I can just do all the things that I have created already with humanplus, So there's a lot of mindset work that's going on, and being very aware that the intentions that you set, you broadcast that out.
Yeah, I love that. Cool. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, because I know I'm looking to you as the expert on this. Because
Oh,
no pressure. No pressure. We're talking about sort of this purposeful entrepreneurship model. And from your perspective, do you think that we look at entrepreneurship too broadly? Like we think there's only one type of entrepreneurship? Do you think that's the way? Do you think it's sort of a spectrum?
I think you're completely right. We think of it too narrow. There's only one type of there's only one type. And when there's really a full variety of things that you can do. But most importantly, I think we look at entrepreneurship also the wrong way. It's somehow being glamorized as something very desirable, and probably social media as well. It's very easy to think that that is what you should be, but it's the problem is that people don't know who they are. They think they are a label or a role or a job or so, and they think they need to acquire more labels during their lifetime. And entrepreneurship is a nice, being a successful entrepreneur is a nice label. And that is why people chase this concept, because they don't truly know who they are. So it's actually not for everyone. And then there is a spectrum of things that you can do as an entrepreneur. You can even be you can be an entrepreneur when you are in a company. You can be an online entrepreneur. You can be a solo entrepreneur. You can be a freelancer. It's so many different things that make you entrepreneurial. But then when people hear entrepreneurship, they think of this, I don't know, young millionaire, online millionaire, and they think that is who they need to aspire to be. But it's not. That's what I try to be, and then I realized, holy moly, no, I'm not that type of person. And I tell you something on top of that. This might actually surprise you, but my nature is not entrepreneur.
Okay.
My nature is a lot of things, but I'm by nature, my energetic imprint, my soul print is not the one of an entrepreneur. And I've only come to really appreciate this in the last few months as well. I have this drive in me that this work that I'm creating with humanplus, with my podcast, this work needs to be out there. When I cross over and I haven't done this to the best of my abilities, I'll be in trouble, sort of thing. I feel in my heart that I need to do the best that I can to bring this work out in the world. But I might not be the best placed person to do all of this work myself. So I'm somebody who is really strong at creating, at helping people transform, helping leaders transform. I don't see myself as a coach, more as a leadership development person. And I know that I have the ability to raise consciousness in people. And my mandate is to do this in the business world. So I know that is where my work lies. Now, on a practical level, and I have constructed all of the programs and everything around that, but on a practical level, what needs to happen more in my business is to somebody who can actually, be smart about these things now and create a marketing offer and pitch to companies and do all of business development marketing side of thing, and not be afraid of failing and having like 10 horses in the race and see which one works. I can do it, but it doesn't feel natural to me. And this is an ability though of a true entrepreneur. So I'm actually not that person. And what I'm doing right now is I'm calling in help. Right. I say, this is what I'm really good at. This is my mission. Who wants to be part of the movement? And this is what I can, give. And this is what you can get from it. So I'm happy for somebody to come into my business, to take the role as a, CEO or so, and do all of these things while I just do what I'm good at. And then it can work. But the problem is people, again, they don't know who they are and they think they need to be it all. They need to be, this is the archetype of an entrepreneur. You need to be good at this and you need to be good at this and you need to be good at this. No, you don't. You have to be good at, you need to know yourself and then just double down on what you're actually good at.
Yeah, it's that delegation thing that gets us sometimes, right? And I think you brought up another thing that caught my attention was you said you're not the entrepreneurial type, but that's not, that's not innate to you. And I think sometimes some of us may feel that way and then we give up because we think that, well, maybe it's just not for me, as opposed to sort of going further, like you said, and realizing this is what I'm good at. I just need to get the right people around me to make it happen instead of just completely giving up and going back to something that you don't desire in the first place. So, and maybe I'm speaking to myself right now. I needed to hear this
And I'm sure somebody else needs to hear this as
Yes,
well,
yes.
including myself. And I mean, this is such an important point. People give up, but the true beauty can happen when, instead of giving up, you start tuning in with yourself and start actually doing the deep work and start to understand who are you, and that is why I always talk about spirituality, and consciousness, because that is where it all starts. I know a few people have problems with the word spirituality, but essentially what I mean by that is it's a tool to help raise your self-awareness and your consciousness levels. And as you have an higher consciousness, you can start looking into, you can actually start listening to your intuition, because your intuition speaks to you very, very clearly,
Right.
and start working out, what am I good at, and what does my soul truly want to do, rather than what I think I need to do. And that's when you start naturally making the right decisions, because you're not being guided by fear anymore.
Yeah.
You only go back into the old environment when you have not learned to distinguish your fear from, this is just not for me, I need to try a different approach. That's all.
I love that. Differentiating that it's not fear or it's not for you. I love that. Love that. Thank you. That somebody needed to hear that. I absolutely love that. Okay.
And the only way to know this is by being still, and being, getting to this place of alignment. That is the only way. For me, meditation is the game changer. I think everyone should meditate, but there's other ways to do it. Walk in nature, get away from your phone, just
Right.
take time for yourself. There's many different ways to become quiet,
Yeah.
but you need to become quiet in
Yeah.
whatever way. This is the only way to be able to make those changes and the right decision for your soul.
Yeah. We have to stop living in this like zombie world of like, I feel like we're zombies sometimes and we just kind of go through life and we're just going through life and not taking those moments, like you say, of quiet and intention. So we need to find a way to make time for those things. Right. So
I did a silent day last week,
a
a
whole
full day
day.
of silence. Yeah, it was so nice. Like no phone, no nothing. You can't listen to anything, you can't speak.
No
Of
music.
course, no music. No, it's a distraction again. It's a distraction from who, your soul wants to talk to you, your intuition wants to talk to you. It can It's so powerful. Like but you need to be quiet. Even if you're writing, even if you are listening, you're distracting yourself.
I'm gonna have to work up to that, Kat. I don't know about 24 hours yet. That's gonna take some practice. But I love that. I love that you
You know,
did it though.
you will, once when you do it, it's scary in the beginning. I've done longer silent retreats as well, 5 days, but I was in a retreat center, so no one else was talking, so that's it's okay. This time I did it here, in my normal environment. I live quite peacefully. I live by the beach, so it's you can avoid crowds if you want to, so it was okay, but I couldn't do it longer than 24 hours because people, I mean, I live with people, they expect you to talk and to respond to you, so I needed to say, like, please don't talk to me that day. And then the interesting part is that I said it to my humanplus. We also have a community, and I said it to my community that we had a meditation the evening before, and then I said I'm going into silence now if anyone wants to join me. And there was one person who also never done a silent retreat, and he joined me, of course mentally, because we weren't supposed to speak. And he and I, we caught up the next day when we were allowed to speak again, and he was so blown away by the experience of stillness, that we even talked about maybe we need to do this on a global scale, because he got so many insights from being freaking still. Quantum leaped him 10 times ahead, include me as well. We're like, we need to maybe do this more formalized, that people do this work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You start
just nothing. I can't even like knit or crochet.
No. No, nothing. Okay. And it's interesting. You realize how distracted you actually are, because you wake up and first thing that I mean, I don't look at my phone in the morning anyway, so that's okay. But at some point you drink your tea and you're like, what now?
Right.
You drink your tea, okay. You walk on the beach and you're like, oh, I should call. No, I don't have my phone. So okay. It's amazing.
I'm gonna need you to make a national go silent day. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna join you. Yes, I will. I will join you. I'm gonna tell my husband, leave me alone for 24 hours. Don't talk to me. I want to try it. I do.
I will let you know when we will organize it in the next few weeks or so, because it is honestly so impactful. And what we want to do is we want to, because I've now also done a few silent retreats, there's a bit of preparation beforehand, especially if you do it in your normal environment. You want to make sure that you have like notes written saying things like, I don't speak today. So you want to like, prepare yourself a little bit, but then the most important part is the follow-up, because you will have had so many insights. You want to talk about them, or you want to act on them also. So it's really important, the sharing part, and that's why we thought this could be, it's for free. It's such a beautiful thing to do, to be silent, but then have a group that you can exchange with what happened.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. I'm terrified as all get out.
Yeah, everyone is, yeah.
Looking forward to it. All right, well, Kat, if there's one last thing that you could share with women who are, on this entrepreneurial journey and feeling like, I don't know if it's for me, or feeling that pull of what do I do next? What can you leave with them in terms of words of inspiration?
The only thing that comes to mind, and I believe that is probably the most impactful, is again stillness, through adopting a regular meditation practice or a journaling practice, or anything that gets you away from the hustle and bustle. Is that a word? Hustle and bustle?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so away from the noise, and sit down. If you don't know the answer, what happens next? You sit down and you ask the question, what am I supposed to do? Guaranteed, you will get an answer. You might get an answer that you don't like.
Yeah.
Very likely that can happen, but don't just brush that answer away. When the answer comes to you, when your heart speaks to you, don't try to analyze it with your rational mind. Just listen to what it says. That would be my number one advice. Yeah, silence.
I like it. Well, we can't be silent for the rest of the show, because I have a special way I end my show that I know you're so excited about getting to.
And terrified.
Every guest that comes on Dr. Erika by Design, as you guys know, we go through the Fab Four. So, Kat, are you game and are you ready?
Yes, as ready as I can be.
All right, the first one is, Kat, what's the strangest food you've ever eaten?
The strangest food, a scorpion in China.
You take the crown. Thus far, you take the crown. A scorpion?
Really? Yeah, a scorpion, yeah.
Was it, did you do it like?
Fried, it was fried. You can buy it on like a stick. Actually, it was a couple of scorpions that I ate, yeah.
So it was tasty then, because you had a couple.
It wasn't too bad, I have to say. Yeah, I wouldn't eat it now. This is a few years back. I'm vegan now, so now I would not eat it. But back then, yeah, it was Chinese street food. This is the strangest thing. This came to my mind immediately.
Huh?
They eat all sorts of stuff in China.
I see. I had not. Yeah, you just beat me.
What did you eat?
Sea urchin.
Sea urchin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is, unfortunately. Is that a fish?
No, I want to say it's a mollusk, but I'm probably wrong. But I know it's like in a shell with like all the little sticky things out of it. It looks like an orange tongue. It's horrible.
Ah, yes.
Have you had that?
No, I haven't had it. But yeah, where did you eat this?
In California, on the coast.
Oh, they have it there.
Yeah, they did. I will never.
Was it good?
No, not to me. It was horrible.
And probably very expensive as well.
I don't remember. It was on a corporate trip, so I didn't pay for it. They paid for it. All right. So next question. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Higher consciousness. Even higher consciousness.
Even higher. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Very powerful.
All right. Number 3. See, these aren't hard, are they?
No, I'm trying to just answer them with my heart as well. Whatever comes up, not to, that's, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if I could answer, but yeah, that's what I feel.
Exactly what I was hoping for. So number 3, if you had to pick a song to represent your life, what would it be?
Oh. Hallelujah. You know the song, sing hallelujah, singing, that 90s song, sing hallelujah. That's what it's called.
Huh.
Sing hallelujah. I have a terrible voice, but that is the song that I feel like represents my life. And I listen to it very often when I go on my runs, and then I do a little dance. Sing hallelujah, singing hallelujah. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
I love you to guess this thing on the show. This is amazing. I'm going to have to find that song now.
90s.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. The last one is a statement. Just finish it for me. And the statement is, I am
enough.
Yes. Yes.
Man,
yes.
Sometimes things come out of my mouth. I'm like, did I say this? Yeah, but okay.
Yes. I love it. You are enough. Yes. And I think everybody needs to say that to themselves. You are enough out there in the cyber world. We are all enough. And we are just who we are supposed to be. So, Kat, I can't believe our time is coming to an end. Thank you so much for being here. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's been a pleasure.
Problem.
To you as well.
Yay. If people want to follow you, Kat, and connect with you so they can find out when the silent retreat is coming up, how can they find you in the social media world?
I'm more active on LinkedIn than I am on Instagram. Are you going to put the information in the show notes? Yeah, okay, perfect. Then my LinkedIn profile, Katharina Kugler. They can follow me on Instagram, but I'm not super active there. My webpage is www.humanplus.me. I have a community of conscious entrepreneurs and leaders running there as well. So if people are interested, they can check that out. And yeah, that's the best way of being in touch with me.
Awesome. And yes, we will put all those things, all those details in the show notes. You guys know I got you. I'm not going to let you slip through the cracks. We got you here. So don't worry about that. So again, thank you, Kat. Thank you guys out there for listening, for watching. And we will see you next time on Dr. Erika by Design. Bye, guys.